All right, Robert, we're back. I think every single week I say this, every single time a week goes by, something else comes up. I've gotten so much information from people. I keep telling you, it's overwhelming. Like, we went to Brownsville the other day to the courthouse to look for documents, and we were bombarded with everything.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. Like, 549 entries.
And that's just that. That's just the Brownsville. And then I got to give a shout out to Celeste Lopez. She is like Celeste. A ninja looking through the documents. She sent me a bunch of stuff through email, a bunch of affidavits, which we got a hold of. And that brings me to our guest today. We got Tony in the house. And when is the last time that you all have talked?
Oh, my God. What do you think?
Man, probably like 6 years. We've seen each other, but
we've bumped into each other at a rrestaurant or somewhere, like, hey, Tony,
but this story hasn't been shared between you in a very long time.
It's been over.
No, that was like a closed book.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't want to, share anything after, we were all there, so we all know exactly what happened. So, I mean, it's kind of pointless,
That's super cool how he said that, because I never realized how we never really brought it up, but it's true, because there's nothing for me to tell him that he didn't already experience it next to me.
Yeah, that you exist.
So speaking about it amongst ourselves never really happened.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you say? I mean, you were there, I was there, everybody was there. I mean, maybe we saw different aspects of what happened, or he was looking one way, I was looking another, whatever, but, I mean, there's no reason to share, because we were all there.
Or to revisit it,
yeah. What do you feel about us telling the story now after it's been so long?
I think that it was way overlooked as far as, like, the whole South Padre Island thing, because I know the 9/11 stuff, was 3 days prior. And, that's way bigger than our little problem that we had down here in the valley. But at the same time, I mean, it was, a destruction that separated land from land. I mean, the only thing that's holding it together was the bridge.
It was the main artery, bro. It was the lifeline from Port Isabel to South Padre Island.
Yeah. So, I mean, in a nutshell, it's, and I get, like, I don't consider myself a hero or anything like that, but I mean, I would have done it again and again. I mean, I just, like Robert said, if it was my mother, my father, my grandparents, or even my kids, I don't know what I would do at that situation, but I'd do it all over again. That's for sure.
And what do you say to these people? Because I've been reading all the comments on YouTube, and this is a question for both you guys. Like, you all didn't get the credit you deserved. And you all should be on these pedestals of heroic heroes. What do you all feel when people say that?
I disagree, man. I mean, you got to remember that back then the internet had not blown up yet.
There was no Facebook. Matter of fact, we had flip phones.
Yeah, we literally had flip phones, so we couldn't even document what was going on.
I don't even think they had cameras, the flip phones back then.
So we were paraded around and taken to the island, and I have hanging on my walls awards and proclamations, and Governor Rick Perry sent us a very nice heartfelt letter signed, and
with a flag on it.
Yeah, we each got a flag that was flown above our state's capital, and signed by Eddie Lucio, Senator. And so we did go through all of that, and we were recognized behind closed doors, and the media did get a little, came and interviewed us here and there. But again, we were all still devastated over 9/11.
Yeah.
All eyes were on that. So
I can tell you where I was at time that it came on the news. I was just walking into work, and then I heard, the building's been struck, and then we saw the other building being struck, and I mean, it was just weird. And then he kind of just, we were all watching like everybody else, and then, for some reason we decided to go fishing.
Yeah, it was just like out of the blue, just, hey man, you know what? 9/11 happened. I'm done dwelling. I can't turn on the TV without seeing that plane hit, the second tower again. It's just reoccurring everywhere.
Yeah.
Had Facebook existed,
Oh, it would have
been a whole different thing.
Oh my goodness, the footage that would have been uploaded from that day would have been.
You know what got me
crazy.
more than anything, and to this day I'm livid, is we called 911 and they hung up on us 3 different times.
Several times,
saying
man.
for us to stop joking that it's against the
You're
law or
taught
something.
since grade school to memorize 911.
911.
If anything goes wrong, call 911. Countless times I ask my kids, what number you call if something happens to daddy or mommy, something we can't? 911.
You know, I
That
wish
is
we.
the
I
worst lesson
honestly,
you can teach somebody, basically.
I honestly think that they should pull the records from that day.
We've been trying to get the 911 records. Supposedly this is what the chief told me, that they already changed systems, so those are an old system that they can't access yet because the servers and drivers are completely different. So this is a company NICE company owns this, I guess, the software and everything that we need to get in contact with. I already sent a request to get it, but it's falling short. So, but let me bring this up. We went to the courthouse specifically to look for affidavits. And yesterday, Celeste sent me some stuff, and we got 3 affidavits in our hands. And we got one for you, for Tony, and for Roland. And how do you feel? Like, you haven't seen these in 20 years?
Man, I was just reading the top part, and I was like, it just brought me to that day, like, you know.
Texas Rangers.
Yeah. I remember being surrounded by so many people. But the one thing I think that kept me calm was the pasture. We were all holding hands and we were praying and just making us feel more at ease, just kind of like, you know, just calm down, take a deep breath. And, you know, I think that's what helped me, get through that day, because we didn't sleep for like a day and a half or something.
Yeah, so we woke up the day before, went through our work day, decided to go fishing, spent all night. And these testimonies were given at 8 something in the morning. The following day, we had literally been up.
Yeah.
Wow.
20
that is
some hours.
And we were talking to a whole bunch of different people. And, I remember when they said, we can get back to that later. But, you know, when we had the boat and they were like, you know, y'all ready to take us over there, and the scuba divers and stuff. And
it was traumatic, man. So just to see these reports, so let me set it up for you a little bit. After Pastor Hyde huddled us up together and prayed for us and kind of, you got to understand that we were still hyperventilating. We had already turned over the people that we had pulled onto the boat to EMS. They were already being tended to capable people. You know, we're giving care to them, and we were just brushed off to the side. Still heavy breath and just winded and kind of looking at each other like,
you know, because what I recall is we took the scuba team, they went in there, and then the guy's like, are y'all ready to see dead people?
Yeah.
And I was like,
are you okay with us bringing up the bodies?
Yeah, and I was like, bring them.
And everybody said, do what you have to do, do what you have to do.
Wow.
So Pastor Hyde kind of huddles us together and we pray a little bit, and then he turns his back to us and he starts waving down the authorities. Hey, these are the guys that saved them. These are the guys that saved them. And the Texas Rangers came and took us into custody. They didn't come and give us a pat on the back or like, thank you, God. No, it was like, get them. And they got us, didn't restrain us fully, but I had...
Like, come with me.
Yeah, come with me from the forearm and the wrist. And they guided us in between the caution tapes where there were families holding up pictures of cars. Like holding up pictures. Did you see this car? Did this car go in the water?
Or did
pictures
you see this person?
Pictures of children, of family members. And we're just kind of bombarded with this. We're being roughly guided to the police
And nobody
station.
knew who you guys were.
Nobody. As far as we knew, they could have thought we were terrorists.
The media wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how fast all of this happened. It was just,
They didn't have access to where we were going. So we get to the police station, and they don't throw us into the cells. They literally cleared out like little broom closets and rolled little chairs into there and said, sit there.
Yeah, kind of like when they interrogate you.
Yeah,
like
it's what it was. It was an interrogation.
Yeah.
They brought a lady over and sat in front of us with the little stenographer machine. She sat down. And what we have attained through Celeste's efforts are exact statements. They're recorded certified court documents, and these documents are signed by Texas Rangers, time, date, stamped. This is the statements that we gave immediately after the accident.
Wow. Another interesting thing that Celeste found too was the audio tape transcription of the interview with Dwayne Fowler, which was the captain of the barge that was driving that night. So that's going to be for another episode.
I've never heard that story.
Me neither.
It is.
I don't know the story.
Telling everybody there's so much depth to this thing. It's like, and then we also saw that Southwestern Bell was part of the lawsuit.
Yeah, Southwestern Bell was suing them because the accident severed their fiber optic cables.
Jeez,
everybody dove in head first to try to get a piece of this.
And one thing that Celeste said that she was kind of like flabbergasted about was like there was so many attorneys in this thing. There was tons,
droves of them. They would get to the courthouses. They would carpool in like these large Mercedes vans and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the Brownwater Towing had like 24 attorneys, and they would fly them all privately in. It was large corporate money against small town attorneys, and every single small town attorney managed to squeeze into it.
Everybody that knew everybody, or
it was a certain circle of attorneys.
Yeah.
Wow, that is insane. So right before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of this, I just want to thank everybody that's reached out to us. Obviously, they've subscribed, they've watched this, and there's so much interest in this story. And I think it's because it's real. It involves so many people that they knew, their loved ones, their family members. It somehow touched somebody.
That island is where we all come together, man, and as complete strangers, but still at home.
Yeah.
So everybody feels like, shit, a piece of my home was destroyed, a piece of my, history trips to the beach. Like, that's a part, we're all a part of the island, man.
I mean, you can go to the island and ask somebody for help if you need a tire change. They'll help you. I mean, it's the beach, like he said. I mean, you can walk around the beach and somebody sees a kid go in the water and they'll run after them. And, I would do it. I have kids also.
I think the reason why it resonates so well is because we're one of you guys, we're you all. We're just, few guys that happen to be there, and it resonates well with people because it's part of our history.
So Tony, let's go back to that day. What is your role in this whole situation? Kind of frame it up for everybody, and then I want you all to have the conversation that you all have been trying to have for many years.
My role, well, the way I met Robert was because my sister was married to Roland, so I'm the brother-in-law. And basically, in a nutshell, at that time, I was living with them in an apartment. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, I was getting my stuff situated. And that's how we all met. And I've known, my sister started dating Roland in like 8th grade. So that's how far it goes. I mean, when this happened, I was 23. So my sister's 24 at that time.
So you were the oldest person on the boat?
Yeah.
I have always assumed Roland was the oldest person on the boat. You were actually the oldest at 23?
Yeah, sure. Here.
Wow.
23 years of age. Yeah, and it's funny because he was like, "You want to go fishing?" I didn't answer. I wasn't like them. I wasn't married. I didn't have to answer to anybody. I'm like, "Let's go."
Yeah.
I mean, when are we coming back? And hey, don't worry about that. Just go. All right, let's go.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly how it happened.
And we just all went, and it's so real that, I mean, I don't know. It's just, I guess I get goosebumps, when we're getting there, and the guy said that half the lights on the bridge weren't on, and the drive over there is just, how could I say, like, you were driving with and he had just gotten that boat, and he'd never owned a boat,
and never in my life had owned a boat.
So we were all going blind. I mean, it was just kind of like, let's go.
The first time I had taken it out during the night. I'd taken it out once before to test drive it and whatnot. Bought it, took it out with the family and the kids for the first time out, and then the third time was that night with them.
Yeah. Wow. And I didn't even know he had a boat or anything. He's like, "Yeah, I bought a new boat," and I'm like, "Let's go, man." And I remember having a little backpack with an extra, like, shirts and stuff, because it was going to be, you know, and those came in handy later on in the story, you know. But, yeah, man, I remember back then I used to smoke cigarettes, and I was sitting in the back with Robert. And I remember saying, $20, whoever catches the biggest fish. And they're like, what kind of fish? The biggest fish.
It didn't matter.
We ain't catching anything.
We literally did not pull a single fish onto the boat.
Not even a catfish.
Nothing.
Jeez.
Like, we were just there. Like, literally, you said it the other day to me. You said this night almost seems like it was scripted, man. Like it was written.
Explain that night. What was the water like? What was the weather like? What did you witness that night?
Well, that night it was just the moon wasn't out, and to come to find out the following day that it was a red tide.
A riptide.
The riptide.
Riptide. Yeah, the current
was going. It's horrible, and I know that half the lights going towards South Padre weren't working.
That's right. So basically, from Port Isabel over the highest peak of the Causeway, down the backside, and almost half of the bridge lights were out.
Yeah.
The nearest part of the bridge to South Padre Island had their lights on.
Okay.
On the bridge, on the top side of the bridge, but the rest were out. So it was.
Yeah,
dark,
it was a dark night, and I mean it wasn't windy or anything. It was just kind of muggy. I remember, you know, us complaining about mosquitoes, and you know, it was just a regular night.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you remember when we took the people to the Coast Guard station on the South Padre Island side? You remember how many swarms? It's funny that you bring that up, bro, because I said that the other day.
Yeah, I mean,
thousands of mosquitoes.
You couldn't get them off you, and I was like, man, these are gonna be the death of us because it were just so many mosquitoes.
It's an ugly night, but then the wind picks up.
Yeah,
and the current starts getting choppy, and before you know it, man, the cars are falling in the water.
It was an ideal situation for what happened.
You know, and actually, I don't know if you ever checked your boat, because I know they totaled it or whatever, but do you remember when a car rolled under it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you felt it like the...
We didn't hear about that, so talk about that.
Yeah, no, I remember.
Yeah, we were there, and you could...
the boat.
It lifted the boat, actually, and then you could see them upside down, and all you could smell was gas, like horrible. I mean, horrible. And it actually lifted the boat a little bit, and you felt it like to-dum, to-dum on the bottom of the boat. And then, I mean, I recall that because we were on our way to save people. Matter of fact, we all, I don't remember who it was, but somebody went and got all the rods out of the rod holder, threw them over into the water.
Went into the water, man. Ice chests.
Everything.
To make space, to make room. Because
we knew.
We were assuming 9 cars had gone in. We were assuming we were going to get at least 8, 9 people.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember, you know, all that went overboard, you know, and then we all had life jackets and whatnot. We had extras, and I remember, you know, yelling and whatnot, you know, and I had a life jacket in my hand. I actually took mine off and threw it to, what's his name? Gustavo. Yeah, and you know, he got a hold of it. But I mean, it's just, I mean, there's so many things that
it's chaos, man.
Come into place. It's just, I mean, into detail, it's just real hard because, I mean, he saw one side of, you know, it's kind of like going to the movies. You're going to see the movie a little different than I'm going to see it, you know, because it's just the way the type of personality you have. And I was just seeing from my point of view, and that's what I recall, that when the car rolled and hit the bottom, and I was like, man, it's hitting the boat. No, we're good, and, you know.
Yeah, because I was directly under the gap.
Remember all that water was coming out of there?
So we're under it, and you know those rides that you go to, like Magic Mountain or whatever, and you're in that little log, and you're going under waterfalls, and the water's like on you, and everybody's trying. We were on something similar to that night, because I was driving the boat directly under what had previously been the bridge. and that live water main was just pouring.
Yeah, the water that comes from Port Isabel to South Padre.
Yeah.
When I saw some YouTube videos of the second part that they collapsed the next day, that thing's not small.
Dude, and have you seen the picture of, I think they captured the wave that it made? Okay, well, that was the second part, and it was lower, closer to the water than the original one that fell. And that wave goes out to the sides. The one that we saw just went straight up.
Wow.
And it created like this rain, like it looked like it was raining, like mist and everything. It was,
that is insane.
It was, and then you just see the lights cut through the rain.
What were you feeling when you saw the cars come off of that bridge?
You know, we were talking about that whole, you know, what would you do situation, and because you could hear the cars, dun, 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 and you know, I remember Leroy saying, you know, what do you think this would take down, and what are the odds? And I'm like, well, shit, the odds are the same as the 9/11 buildings. I mean, what are the odds that an airplane goes and hits the buildings?
I've told that conversation my whole life, bro. We were under the bridge, and Leroy says, what would you do if a car fell off into the water?
Yeah.
And Roland's like, what are the chances of that? And I'm like, I'd have to recognize the car, man. I don't think I would jump right in.
And then I was like,
and he's like, dude,
the chances are, look at the two airplanes that hit the towers.
If 2 planes can hit those towers, this bridge can go out.
Yeah, I mean.
And then we moved, and it went out.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's like that conversation happened just as sure as this conversation is happening now. We discussed what we would do if the bridge and if cars started falling into the water. Not specifically if the bridge collapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know there's accidents and they go over the railing or whatnot. You know.
What would we do if we saw cars falling into the water? And 45 minutes later, we saw cars falling in the water.
What were your feelings when you saw the actual car coming off of
Bro, I kept yelling like, "Stop!
Oh my God.
Stop!" Like, and just, you know, like
you couldn't take your eyes off.
Literally, like crying because you knew at certain midair you would see the brake lights just go on, and you just knew they were done.
Yeah, because they would glow. Remember, the water's falling. There's mist in the air because of the splash. As soon as they cut into that mist and they step on the lights, their brake lights. It would make like a little ball of red falling into the water, man.
Yeah,
it would highlight the whole car.
Yeah, kind of like when there's like a waterfall and they have lights underneath. You know, it makes it brighter, kind of, because the light is underneath.
Reflection on all the water. So it looked like these little balls of fire were like light balls were falling into the water.
I mean, say stop enough. I mean, I got watery-eyed and everything, and I'm like, dude, we gotta go save these people. I mean, and we were the only boat there for the first 3 hours. So
I think it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours, man. We were there alone for a long time.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go at first. They all were like, and I was like, no, man, I'm getting everybody home. Like, I thought we were being attacked. Like, real talk, I thought RPG, that some I must play.
We thought terrorists.
Terrorists. We thought terrorists.
I mean, it just had happened, you know. And like I said, it's just one of those things that you can't predict. You can't be ready for it because it was just, you know. I mean, how many times have you heard that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, around the world. I mean, how many times have you heard of bridges actually collapsing?
That'd be something good. Oh well, you know what? Not changing the subject, but we found out that. The bridge has been hit. Our Queen Isabella Causeway
by
has
an
been
airplane.
Hit by
airplane.
By an airplane and by other barges. Just less catastrophe.
Yeah, it's insane because it happens pretty often, and it's a very interesting thing. But let me ask you this: that when you heard the barge get hit, and what sound do you remember?
Bro, I remember saying, "Man, this guy's not going to make the channel. He's off by a long shot." I said, "He's off. So
you could see the barge coming.
Yeah, like it kind of like was the barge was straight, but the front load that he had was coming to the left, and the section where he had to go through, which is the middle of the bridge, was in front of him. And I'm like, man, this guy's not gonna make it. And then he started honking like
he blared his horn.
He blared the horn like, wah,
like a foghorn.
Yeah, like many times. And then you just heard the, and then you just hear boom, and then boom, and then boom, where he knocked all 3 pillars, and then it was just like, it was just wow.
You're just helpless. You're sitting on a floating boat. There's nothing you can do but watch. And we went to help. Roland pulled out the flares.
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy, man.
Like I said, we all got our life jackets. We got everything together. I mean, it was just, you couldn't plan for this if you wanted to.
It was like we had, though, because as soon as I bought the boat, it comes with that list of everything you need to have it in case of an emergency.
Yeah, for the Coast Guard.
And I went and I called these guys. I said, dude, I went to Academy. Shout
and
out
I just
to Academy, man. Academy was a big part of this. Dude. And I bought every single safety tool, mechanism, anything that had to do with a boat. And you should have this from like Mylar sheets for hypothermic deck, everything. And it was on the boat. And Roland went to it and just started handing stuff out to people. And
I don't think that's what a lot of people understand, is that maritime law is completely different than land law. And I didn't know anything about this, but now this is kind of forcing me to learn about this stuff. And I've talked to captains already, and I even talked to Captain Steve, which is in Puerto Vallarta, which is a pretty interesting story on itself. He'll be on he'll be on the podcast pretty soon. But he was telling me like there's no way that night anybody should have been in that water. It was just horrible conditions. It's you could not he's surprised that the barge was out there
and said, Robert, I just watched the 10 o'clock news. There's some sort of rip. You got to get out of the water.
Like a rip current.
Whatever, girl, man. It's nice out here. We're chilling, talking.
But it's because we were over. You know where the pier is at?
Pier 19. Or was
no. It was the other side.
Oh, the fishing pier.
Yeah, the fishing pier. We were in the flat. Right there, so I mean, in the flat, you're in real shallow water, so it's not. There's no. I mean, as soon as you scoot over to the deeper waters where you could feel it, but we were like, man, we're good here. I mean, and we were just.
And remember, I had a V-hull boat. It was a ski boat,
and that's what Captain Steve was saying, that there's no way any boat, for example, like the guys that got on your all's boat. And if they got on his boat, they would have capsized it. But since your boat goes into the water, that's the reasoning why yours wouldn't have.
Yeah, because it's a V-hull.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, and I didn't know that buying the boat. It was just the boat we bought.
You're just like
And these guys were like, dude, this is not a fishing boat, man.
Yeah.
We're like a bunch of idiots
I remember
fishing off of this bullshit. Like, how could you buy a ski boat to fish out of? And I said, dude, this is the one my wife said I could get. This is what we're fishing.
Yeah.
He's like, you got a boat? No. Well,
there
you
do
go.
You have a boat? Do you have no? None of us have boats? Okay, well, then we're fishing out of my boat. And that's the way it was, man. Yeah. But, bro, honestly, I can sit here and say, I was meant to have that boat for that night. Literally never used the boat again.
Yeah.
Never used the boat. No. It's still a blemish on my credit probably to this day. Man, 'cause I didn't pay it off, dude. I was like, it was tattered, torn, blood everywhere.
Yeah, with flare marks,
yeah, flare burns. It was just, it got torn to crap.
Wow. Let's talk about the Coast Guard. I think that's a very interesting topic because you told me the story, but I want to hear it from your side. What happened? Like the Coast Guard gets there.
Well, first of all,
let me ask you this. Set it up for me. When you all got to, it was about an hour and a half maybe when the Coast Guard finally got there?
Yeah, and this was after we already had dropped off the survivors on the South Padre side at the Coast Guard station. And they were yelling at us like, you can't be on these premises and get out and you're going to be in trouble, you're going to get fined. And we're like, we have people. Well, what people? And then they came, so then they got the EMS and, well, you can't cross. I mean, how are you going to get them across? I mean, you can give them care, but
you can't get them to a hospital.
You're not going to get them back across other than by boat. I mean, so when they got there, it was after everything was said and done. Had we already taken the scuba divers?
No.
Yeah, we had.
I don't remember the sequence. I remember that as soon as they got there, we still had Rene, Bridgette, and Gustavo in the boat, and they were all just kind of looking at stuff.
They showed up like in a war-style boat. Like our boat was, I mean, it was big, not huge.
It was a 17-foot Glastron.
Okay,
they got there
like in a boat big enough to put like airplanes on top of it.
Wow. It seemed like it, man.
Yeah.
It was about a 75-foot, 80-foot Coast Guard offshore boat.
Yeah.
Way offshore boat.
Like you could look up and, I mean, they looked little.
9 feet above us.
They looked little on top of that boat. And I was like, and it's funny because I will not forget this day. There's one of the guys up there asking us questions or whatever. And we're like, we just saved these people, whatever. And he's like, do y'all have a lighter? And he was packing his cigarettes like.
Yeah, he was basically just packing and just looking at us, looking at the bridge. And he was like, whoa. First things first, man. Does anybody got a lighter? And we're like, the fuck? Like,
yeah.
What do you mean a lighter, dude? This guy's, Tony had taken off his shirt.
Yeah.
And put it on Rene's
head.
There's obviously trauma on the boat, and the guy's like, whoa, we need a lighter. And I'm like, dude, can somebody get this guy a fucking lighter, bro, so he can focus on what we're doing? I need a cigarette. It's crazy, man.
And these guys were all young looking guys.
Oh yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
They were about our age,
Yeah. I mean, that really, it bothered me, but it was just like, what are you gonna do with that ginormous thing? You can't even get near the water.
You can't even get into the water.
And that's because of the electric, the thing that was sticking in the water. Was that the reason?
No, because they were so tall. It was like 20 stories, and
their boat was an offshore boat, so from where they're standing on the deck of the boat to the surface of the water was like 7, 8, 9 feet, so they couldn't even like bend down and get somebody out of the water. Like they were.
I think he was actually taller than that.
Man, yeah, I remember it was huge. Well, I know that we got Rene into a gurney, fed him up to them. They pulled him onto theirs, and then somebody came and said, "Whoa! We're not going to go back to. We're not going to take those people to the wherever they need help." And they gave Rene back to me and us on our boat. It was a useless vessel.
Wow.
It had no business out there. What they needed was hands-on, smaller craft, boats, so that they could maneuver and get to where they needed to.
Thinking about that is Francesca, which is his daughter reached out to me, and
this is the first time I ever hear his name, by the way.
Yes, so Francesca, which is the James Francesca, he was the harbor pilot for that night that actually called the Coast Guard. And he was the first one that called him. He was the one that called these guys out so they can come back.
This is something legit. You guys need to get out here.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story because there's so many parts to it that we think, and we went over this before. We think that's why there's the gag order in place, because he had very specific information about what happened that night,
and his role was specific. To that harbor.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that, and we're gonna fact check everything. So just this is what I've been told, and we will eventually get down to it, and we're gonna fact check everything.
The name, however, is in our court document.
Yeah.
So this is going somewhere. It's obvious.
And we think that's the reason why the 20-year gag order is. But the role that he played was he was the consultant for the attorneys for Brownwater, which his friend had just died in the water that night. So he was representing the attorneys for Brownwater against his friends that died that night.
Holy shit.
He has very interesting information. And one of the things that his daughter told me is that he's very meticulous. So he wrote down a lot of stuff. So she doesn't doubt that he has information for that night written down very meticulously. And also he's in these court documents and his affidavits coming out too. She sent me a screenshot of his name with the affidavit on there. We just need to go look for it and then research it and then look into it to see how everything correlates together.
How it ties together.
How does that make you feel?
Dude, if from what I'm understanding happened, I'm disgusted over it, man. I'm saddened by it. If he played a role in a negative way that impacted financial compensation to the families that lost loved ones, to the survivors, and to those of us who were in that lawsuit, then yeah, I'd be disappointed in the lack of humanity that he demonstrated.
I'm assuming there was a reason why he did it. I think he just had I think he had an in-depth information about the channels that night. And don't take might get some stuff jumbled up, but we're gonna clear everything up. And this is just what I've heard. And his daughter and I have been chatting back and forth. And I know it's. She said as long as it's public information, you can talk about it. So we did find them in the documents. This is just what we talked about. So once these public documents come out, and we're gonna read them word for word, and then we're gonna figure out what his role was in there. Because
at this point, it's pretty much frivolous, and we're doing it to better understand how things happen. 20 years is a long time to go up and dig up old bones and stuff, but again, this story and this history merits the truth.
Yeah.
Whether it's a little ugly or whether it's, not what it seemed to be.
Yeah.
We want to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you for helping me with this, man, because honestly, I've been trying to get this done for a long time, bro. I'm indebted to you for your help, my friend. Real talk.
And I can't take all credit because a lot of people have reached out to us.
Yeah,
a lot of people have. So I'm just facilitating this, and I think through this channel of podcasting is a very powerful thing where we can tell the true story, everybody's side of the story, and we want to thank Tony obviously for coming.
Man, I want him to read that. I want to see what it makes him feel like. I haven't fully read mine. I skimmed through it. It's difficult. It's difficult because you're forced to recall the anxiety. And I've spoken about this before, man. When we think hard enough about the past, it'll bring back that feeling, and we feel it in our bodies in the now. And this is the kind of story that does that to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just very interesting that the amount of people that are backing up the story, because I told you, it's like I'm waiting for the backlash.
Yeah.
Like it hasn't come yet, and I think that's why it's so well received. People want to know about this. It has the making for a maybe a mini series or a documentary.
At maybe a reenactment, maybe, I don't know but it's a story that I'm glad we're sharing.
Absolutely. Tony, let's talk about the woman in the water. I think that is a point in the story where people are either turned completely off by it, like, forget this is stupid, or they're like, wow, it's only that. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
What is your side of the story with that?
Or tell us what you saw, basically.
I mean, first we saw Gustavo, right? And
I think we saw Gustavo. We got Bridgette.
Yeah, we saw Gustavo, and I will never forget. It looked like Freddy Krueger had ripped his shirt to shreds. It was all just ripped up and whatnot.
Still on him, but just shredded.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess with the glass or something. We don't know, but that's when I threw the life jacket to him, and I said, "You're all right." So we were going after Bridgette, and then she went back under the water, and we were like, "Man, we lost her." Maybe the current.
Man.
Well, she went down there to get her purse, and then swam back up, and we were like, "Okay, whatever." So I went back to get my purse, and I was like, "What?"
Wow.
And later on, we come to find out that her dad had bought her that truck, and he bought it with manual windows, and explained to her, if anything ever happens, you can roll your window down.
Wow.
Yeah, so we picked her up, and then we saw, what's the other guy's name? Rene
Mata.
Yeah, and when we picked him up, it was like, he had a gash from his eyebrow all the way to the back of his ear, like it opened, like you can see the brain. It was horrible. I took my shirt off and I put it over the damaged part of his head, and he was just bleeding and bleeding. I know the three guys were trying to get him to the front of the bow, and I'm like, dude, you aren't gonna pick him up. He's dead weight. I said, come to the side, and we all managed to kind of scoot him over, and then we got him on the boat, and he was like, my girlfriend. And we're like, well, we're looking for people. And then we got Gustavo onto the boat, and he was so worried. He's like, I need to call my wife. Do you have a cell phone? And we're like, yes. We'll get it for you right now. We're looking for people. I don't know who handed him the phone, me, somebody else, but he was talking to her and saying that he had just fallen off the bridge and that he's alive and that how are the kids doing and whatnot. And I'm like, hey, man, you need to just, relax. And he's like, ahorita te hablo. And he hung up with her. And we kept looking and searching, and those were the only 3 people. Matter of fact, going back to where the water was spewing out, do you remember that car that landed on the bridge? Yeah. That person was still alive in the car.
Gaspar Hinojosa.
Yeah, we actually spoke to his son.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we could not get to him. I mean, there was absolutely no way because those pilings are so tall. I mean, it was sad to know that somebody was in it.
Did you ever?
Let me ask you, did you hear him yelling?
Yeah. He was yelling for help, and we were talking to him and yelling back and forth, but there was absolutely, the piling was so tall because they're square at that point of
at the base.
At the base they're square, but we couldn't even. They were way taller than the boat. Like we couldn't even stand on it to try to get to him. And even if we would have gotten to him, we didn't know what kind of position he was going to be in. I'm sure hitting something at that speed, you're probably not going to have any legs. With the impact so hard.
He was hurt severely. He passed away on the way to the hospital after being.
JP Montoya was he was working EMS that night. He's also a firefighter. He told me we met, and he said that I can share this information, that his left leg was pinned under, so he had to pull it out. His right leg was also pinned, but it wasn't as pinned as much under the car. But he had to yank his leg out, and he broke his left leg to pull it out. So it was quite the spectacle for him to experience. Let me ask you this other part, because this is another I think a little detail. Did you see lights on in the water of the cars that were underwater?
For vaguely, and then they would turn off. You could see them, and then they would just either disappear or turn off. Because that channel's deep. The channel isn't, it's made to haul barges through there and big vessels. So, you would see them, and then it would just turn off. Or
I think the batteries or the electrical circuits would either flicker in and off of power, because I do not have a vivid memory of lights shining underwater for a long time.
Me neither.
And that's because we were literally right above the cars, so much so that
it rolled over.
That the car was under our boat, and it would hit our boat a little bit here and there. I don't remember seeing lights like that. Others have said that they were on, but like Tony says, maybe they were flickering, and I don't know.
Everything was happening.
Weren't really looking.
Yeah, everything was happening so fast, but at the same time,
we were combing
we weren't paying attention to that specific detail, because to us, we're looking for heads, people. We were looking for bodies, basically, that were going to come up, or we were actually going to go in. You remember? And we decided not to after.
Roland and I jumped in, and we couldn't swim down because of the life jackets. When we took our life jackets off and jumped in, the rope had cut or busted from the anchor, and our idea was to tie Roland or tie somebody's ankle so that they could go down and check the cars. But the current was too much.
There was no way, you couldn't even stay.
Jump in the water and you're just gone.
Wow.
It would pull you away from anything. And the way the water was flowing, and the way the concrete and the cars were piled up on one another, as the current was coming through that rubble, it was just swirling. It was just so even when you got right above the vehicles, the boat would just start.
It was kind of like when you pull the plug on a drain. Yeah. Like that.
Wow.
It's just
the current was just flowing through the rubble. And because of the obstructions, it was just making all kinds of erratic swirls everywhere.
Let me ask you this, Tony. The woman in the water, let's get back to that. What do you think happened? It was the mother of the guy that y'all saved.
I mean, she was, I don't want to say or embarrass anybody or anything, but she had had a couple of drinks, and I think that's part of the reason why she's with us still today. Because
are you talking about Bridgette?
Yeah, we're talking about Bridgette. I'm actually talking about the mother of.
Remember? Do you recall? I know it's in my statement and Roland's, and you haven't read yours yet.
No, I haven't.
Do you remember, as we were on our way to find, or as we were looking for people, seeing a lady, and we were like, and we could hear?
Yes. She was wearing white.
So talk about that. I want to hear from your from your point of view.
We heard somebody yelling, and it was to the right of us. Mm-hmm. I will not forget it. I thought you were talking about
towards the fishing pier.
I thought you were talking about somebody else, but towards the fishing pier. She was, she would go under, and then she would come back up, and then she'd go under, and then she'd go back up. And I had the spotlight, and I remember holding it, and don't move it, because she's going to come up.
And the boat's just doing this.
And the boat was going up and down, and I was trying to hold it steady, and I remember saying, she's over there. And then it just disappeared, man. And I couldn't tell you, man. They didn't find anybody that went that far into the water.
All the people who went into the water were accounted for. The ones that lost their lives ultimately, and the ones that survived, where everybody was accounted for. I maintain still to this day that lady got our attention that brought us to Renee.
Yeah.
Do you recall going to the hospital where Renee was recovering?
Yeah.
Do you remember what the dad told us about the room he was in?
I vaguely.
That his mother had just passed away.
Oh, yeah.
In that very room he was recovering in.
Yeah.
He said, my wife died in this room.
And you said there was also a picture.
A picture of a lady in a white dress.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Bridgette and everybody was just like,
yeah, and it's funny because, like I say, everybody was accounted for under the bridge, and the 3 that weren't under the bridge were on our vessel. Mm-hmm. So, but I swear on my life that 3 or 4 times she came up, she came down, she came up, she came down, and it was just weird, and they kept yelling and yelling and yelling, and
it's like if you could almost never get to her.
Yeah,
it was almost like no matter we're almost there, and then
she'd go under, and
then come up in a completely different, but we could still see her.
Yeah. Was she yelling or just trying to wave you down?
I remember both.
I remember, what I recall is her hands up, like waving, like trying to get your attention, and then like I could hear the help. Mm-hmm. And then, we kept yelling back. I mean,
you got to remember that it's a blanket of darkness, man. Like wherever that spotlight is shining, that's what you could see.
Yeah.
And
did I remember that like yesterday? Wow.
They extended the search 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, because
based off of these statements, because we all saw her.
Yeah, I mean. To this day, man, I'm taking it to the grave. That lady was there. I mean, no doubt about it. Another funny part was we all like to drink, and we didn't have any alcoholic beverages.
Not a single beer, not a single.
Because we didn't have time. We were running late.
Interesting about that too is Celeste told me that none of you guys had alcohol in your system.
No, and they
nothing.
Did toxicology reports, everything. Everybody was clean, man. Not one beer was in the boat that night.
When we were looking through the documents at the courthouse, we stumbled upon, I guess, the documents where they had the toxicology reports and everything else, and we saw that
the autopsy reports.
Yeah, which is pretty hard to see.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna hate it when we revisit that.
Yeah, and. It was like he said, like Robert was saying. I think it was our destiny that's what we were put on this earth for. I believe that
specifically that night.
I believe that night was meant that's why God put us here.
It was pre-written, like real talk. It was.
Yeah, because like the way it happened, it was just seemed like you're reading it out of a book and saying, "Really?" Like, and what else happened? You know.
We spoke about what was about to happen. It was almost as we were all experiencing the same premonition about what was to come.
Yeah, and it was weird because, I mean, why would you talk about that?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I own a boat, and I've had a boat for the last, 15 years. I professionally fish, and I have a bay boat. And to this day, I don't drink on it if I'm driving the boat. I mean, because now the laws have gotten stricter and whatnot. And it just reminds me of that day, like, you never know what's going to happen.
How many times have you gone fishing?
Not that many.
Okay, how many times have you heard of a fishing trip that did not involve beer?
Oh, never. Yeah.
Doesn't happen, bro.
Oh.
It just and for whatever, I don't know. We just, hey,
Yeah,
you want beer? What are you drinking?
I remember there was an RC Coke, and I'm like, who in the hell drinks RC and some waters? I remember.
Yeah, they were giving me shit because I was like, dude, I don't know, man. That's all I got. That's what I
I
saw.
remember there was being like an orange drink, an RC Coke, and waters. And I'm like,
and it wasn't even enough to last us the night. Like, everybody had one drink, if that.
Wow.
It was like just whatever you can get out of the fridge and hold in two hands. That's what I brought with me.
And it wasn't even cold.
Yeah.
Wow.
It wasn't even cold. But all of that stuff wound up in the water because instinctively everybody just started, dude. And we all had good fishing equipment because we would fish on a fishing boat before. It's just that's not what I bought that day. Everybody threw their own shit, their own tackle, their own reels and rods into the water. No questions asked. Nobody gave a.
Yeah, and
we were making room.
And I even remember, I think True Value gave us new fishing gear.
You remember that?
Yeah,
shit, dude, I forgot. That's right.
Yeah,
man.
they
Johnny's
gave
True Value.
Yeah, they gave us the whole rod and reel.
Each
thing.
of us got I think an ice chest,
a tackle box,
fishing rods,
and some like baits and whatnot, hooks, and you didn't remember about that?
I had completely forgotten.
Wow.
But you see, when you get two people together, and it's like some of the things I vaguely but I remember, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna buy us our gear back.
Yeah.
I was 23 years old. I was working, at a medical supply company, and I mean, I was just making it. It's not like I had a luxurious car or anything. I mean, it was what it was. And I mean, but I just to this day, man.
Well, good thing you peaked late in life, and that's a good thing. I peaked early, man. I had my house, my truck, my boat, my Harley when I was 21. Yeah. And now I'm like, shit, I got to bust my ass to get that stuff again. So I'm glad you peaked late, bro.
Let me ask you this, Tony. You still go fishing out there?
Yeah.
How do you feel when you cross the Causeway now?
Honest to God truth, and my wife will tell you, every single time I get on that bridge, I open my sunroof.
I roll my windows down, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. I roll everybody's windows down.
Yeah. I open the sunroof and I crack the driver and passenger side. My wife hates it, and I always make the sign of the cross as I'm crossing over. And in my head I say, God bless their souls. And it's just a reminder that what if it was us, or what if we would have been there when another piece of the bridge fell, or what if it was just a bunch of what ifs. And honest to God, like I said, every single time I go, man, every single time I cross that bridge, I open the sunroof, crack the windows. That's just my thing. Matter of fact, to this day, after we saw the doctors and whatnot, the therapists, to this day, and I can bring you a couple of my partners that I've had that I fish with, I can't drive over bridges.
Wow.
Like there's a certain bridge that's in Louisiana, and it's just straight up like if you're driving to the sky, and I am just frantic about it. I mean, I will put it on park, change seats, and I'll look at my phone while we're going over it. I mean, that's the only one that I've done that with, but as I'm driving like to the interchange, I'm always hugging the shoulder to look to make sure that the street's still there.
I know what you mean, man. Driving over any bridge now with water under it it's a constant reminder.
Yeah.
Like, shit goes down.
You know, we
sometimes.
travel to Louisiana a lot to fish over there, and they have like a 20-mile of highway that's under
just above
water.
Yeah.
And man, I've always think, man, what are they gonna do the day something happens here? Because
and then you're on it and you look at it and you realize how old it is. You're like, yeah, this bridge has been here longer than dirt.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's interesting because we had this conversation. There's one bridge that connects Port Isabel to South Padre Island.
Like you would think that at this point
they would make a new one.
They would make a new one. You know, like if this, God forbid, if this ever happens again,
they were going to be in the same situation.
Yeah, and sure that there's ferries and the community's going to come together and help, but there's really no need for that. We most definitely the island merits another bridge or a bigger bridge. I don't know, but we need two.
I would say two different ones. On two different locations. That
20
way.
years after, and we're still.
Yeah, because they talked about, we're going to make a bridge, and they were saying through Boca Chica. I remember hearing that, yeah. That they were going to do it like through Boca Chica or something, that they were going to do it on that other side, but a lot of people were against it because of the locals and stores and whatnot, that they were going to just drive over and not, go through the town or whatnot.
Interesting.
Oh, man.
But,
politics.
I mean, I think, like he said, Robert said 20 years, man, I mean, and they still haven't, done anything about it. I mean, I would think they would at least have it in a pen and paper and say, yeah, we're going to try or do something. I mean,
in the future, who knows? Maybe by the 25th anniversary, it'll be the inauguration of the new bridge.
I mean, look at SpaceX. I mean,
they're there, yeah.
We're going to get to space before we get another bridge.
For real. Well, Tony, I'd like to thank you for coming on the podcast. Is there anything else you want to touch on before that maybe we forgot, or maybe that something popped into your head?
No, man. I was just, I'm glad that I was there with these guys, and we're like family. I mean, even though we wouldn't talk, but when we would see each other, it'd be like we never, like we never, like we didn't skip a beat. Like I'll see him and he'd be like, hey man, what's up? Whatever, and we'll just go from there. It's weird.
The experience we shared forces us to acknowledge that we were there for each other when it mattered.
Yeah, and I can attest to that because I heard you all's conversation in the car, and then when you all greeted here, you gave a big hug. So I can see.
Yeah, that night welded us together.
Yeah,
it's always going to be a part of our history. So it's something about it that just there's a mutual respect and a mutual gratitude that's there, whether we have been close and have had a lot of proximity to one another, or if we have not. It just we pick up immediately after.
Yeah. And you know what, Robert? You remember they told us they were going to put our names on that? Do you remember?
Oh, that has irked me, and it sounds shitty, man. But okay, so there's a monument about this accident on South Padre Island. Mm-hmm. When they were designing that monument, it has all the people who passed away.
And then it has like little things that they liked, like a cell phone, or like a rose, or something that kind of meant something to them,
right.
Like a favorite hobby or whatever.
So we were told, the four fishermen, that we were going to each get a bench.
Yeah, with our name on it.
With our name on it, because of what we had done. So they even invited us to the
cutting, the ribbon cutting,
the ribbon cutting of the memorial, and we were under the impression that those benches were going to be there, but they never did.
Yeah,
they never put them up and everything, and which is fine. I mean, it is what it is. I know, and now the masses know what we did, but yeah, I the only reason it pissed me off was because I told my kids, every time you go to the beach after Dad's dead, you can come and see. Look, my dad's a part of this history. He saved these people. This is my dad's bench, and this is going to be something that's going to Tony, Roland, and Leroy and I, whether we fail or succeed in life, we did one good thing, and that bench is going to be proven. It's going to prove it, and I want to get you, pictures of you and your kids sitting on Grandpa's bench and stuff. So I hyped it all up, and then when we got there, the benches weren't made. They didn't do it, and they just told us, well, it wasn't in the budget. I said,
and it's not so much because people say, we were heroes and whatnot. And, it's not about, what we did for other people. It was more of the moral of the story. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like we weren't part of the story. When we were the only ones in the story for the first. And you can ask the guys, the scuba team. You can ask. They got on our vessel to go rescue people. I mean, we were the only ones there,
willing to go do it, and with the.
We have statements that we've taken from the Texas Rangers and whatnot. I mean, everybody knows that was there, that we were the only vessel, and we were the people that saved those 3 people that are alive today.
I'm gonna be the selfish one, man, and say, you know what? I know it comes off as, dude, you're such a crybaby. You wanted your own bench, dude. I'm a high school dropout. Entrepreneur, bust my ass my whole life. I don't have walls full of degrees and diplomas or bank accounts full of bread. For me to be able to leave something that is a part of our history,
your legacy.
Yeah, man, it's shit. What I failed or succeeded at doesn't matter anymore. The people of this island recognize that I did something cool, and that's going to be there forever. They
gave us
that's a win for me.
They give us the key to the city.
Yeah, I have a frame downstairs.
We key to the city, and we got acknowledged by a lot of these top people and stuff, but never did they come through with their promise. And it's like Robert's saying. I mean, it's not that we're trying to be the heroes. It's more of
it's a part of the story.
Yeah,
it's
man.
A part of what happened.
I mean,
it's the truth.
There's affidavits and there's everything. We went to court. We were some
of the stuff that we had to revisit and see pictures and stuff.
Oh, we saw some videos and stuff.
The terror didn't stop then, man. It lasted. It lasted in the sense that we had to smile when we were asked to smile in front of the cameras, even though we were still scared and worried about the effects that this was having on us, even though we weren't sleeping at night. We had to present ourselves in court and look at some of the pictures and some of the things and revisit that night. What happened real time that night was horrific. What we lived afterwards and kind of how things were handled prolonged it.
Yeah, and it's funny because lately and before, when all this happened, I'd wake up gasping for air. And my wife would, pat my back and say, "What's wrong?" I said, "I was drowning." And it's just like, and I'm not making it up. Like I said, you can ask my wife, and it's just something that, and she knows about the bridge stuff, and she knows about, like, my anxiety gets me, like, especially when I'm, like, in a big city, and you're going, and there's 3 other overpasses under you or you're over you, and you're trying to get, and I'm just looking straight at the street, and I'm like, you just tell me where to turn, it's just. And that's what Robert says. Like, we all saw doctors and psychiatrists and whatnot, and everybody thinks, oh, well, you should forget about it.
Yeah.
You still remember when you had your first kid.
Mm-hmm.
Same concept, I mean, to me, it's never going to go away. Never.
Wow. Well, Tony, Robert, once again, thank you very much. I'm glad we had this conversation. And like I said, we're going to keep chipping away at this. If you have any other information or something that you've heard or somebody that was part of this, send them our way. Yeah, we would love to have them on the podcast. We have quite a few people lined up that are going to tell their side of the story, but we're always trying to sift through the BS, because there are some characters out there that have reached out to us and we just don't think they're credible. So we kind of filtering a bunch of different stuff, but with your help and everybody else's help, we can get to the bottom of this and tell the true story of the Queen Isabella collapse. All right, guys, we'll see y'all later.
Good night. Be well.